You know that feeling when you open Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it today, and you just feel tired?
Oh, yeah.
Not physically tired, it's like a soul tired feeling. Like you're watching people who have been, I don't know, infected with something.
It's a very specific kind of exhaustion, isn't it? It's the exhaustion of watching irrationality just spread.
Exactly. It feels contagious.
It does.
You see one person post something completely unhinged, totally detached from reality, and then 5 minutes later, 1,000 people are repeating it like a mantra. It's spooky.
Mhm.
It feels like a zombie movie, but for opinions.
That is the exact image that kicked off the research for today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are looking at this concept of idea pathogens.
Right. And the big name here, the guy who really popularized this terminology, is Gad Saad. He's an evolutionary psychologist. He's loud, he's funny, and he's been shouting from the rooftops for years that bad ideas are literally parasites.
Right, that they infect the brain, they hijack your survival instincts, and they make you do things that make absolutely no sense from a, rational standpoint.
And he's built a very compelling model around this. He basically says, look, humans have a biological nature. We evolve to survive. But these pathogens, these bad ideas, they hack our software.
So his solution is pretty straightforward on the surface.
Yeah. Return to reason. Return to science. Return to biology.
Which sounds great. I mean, who doesn't want to return to reason? Follow the science, right?
Yeah,
Feels like the adult in the room telling the kids to settle down.
it does. But, and this is why I love doing this show, we have a problem.
We do have a problem. Big one.
We have a stack of research here, specifically a dense, fascinating treatise called The Architecture of Reality by a philosopher named Jamie Thornberry. And Thornberry is looking at Saad's model and saying, nice try, but you're building a castle on quicksand.
That's a polite way of putting it. I mean, Thornberry's critique is devastating because he's not attacking Saad's science. He's attacking his foundation,
His whole premise.
his entire philosophical premise. He's arguing that while Saad explains how we behave, the mechanics of the infection, he completely fails to explain why truth or morality or good ideas exist in the first place.
Wait, hold on. That sounds a little like we're splitting hairs. If Saad can explain how the virus works, why do we care about the philosophical why? I just want the cure, you know? I don't need the metaphysics.
I get that. But because if you don't have the why, the cure doesn't work. That's the cliffhanger. Thornberry argues that if you follow Saad's worldview to its logical conclusion, you actually destroy the very reason in science you're trying to save.
Okay.
You end up in a world where truth is just a survival trick, not something real.
Okay, now you have my attention. You're saying the science guy might be accidentally undermining science.
Precisely. We are going to attempt a serious upgrade today. We're moving from Saad's view, which is biology creates meaning, to Thornberry's view, which is biology expresses a deeper ontological order.
Ontological order. You dropped the O word early. I have to be honest, when I see words like ontology and concepts like love, life, and light in the show notes, my eyes roll back a little bit.
I know.
I start thinking about crystals and burning sage. It feels soft.
It does. It sounds like the end of a yoga class.
Yeah.
But I need you to suspend that knee-jerk reaction for the next hour.
Okay.
Because in this framework, words like love and light aren't poetic metaphors. They are engineering terms. They're structural, like load-bearing wall or tensile strength. Thornberry is using them to describe the hard mechanics of reality.
All right, I'm willing to play ball. So here's the roadmap for you. First, we're going to stress test Saad's evolutionary model. We'll look at what works and then what breaks.
Then we'll get into that philosophical collapse, the why evolution alone can't guarantee truth.
And after that, the solution. Thornberry's architecture of love, life, and light.
And finally, the practical application. How to align with reality rather than just, surviving it.
Okay, let's do it. So before we break it, we should probably give the devil his due. Saad is a smart guy. Where is he right? What are these reality tracking zones you mentioned?
He gets a lot right. Thornberry actually calls Saad high signal when it comes to diagnosis. Imagine a doctor who is brilliant at spotting the symptoms of a disease, even if he's a little confused about the germ theory behind it.
So what are the symptoms he's spotting? What's the first one?
The first one is simple. Idea contagion. Humans are mimetic creatures.
Mimetic meaning we mimic, we copy.
Yes, we are absolute copycats. We copy desires, we copy beliefs, we copy behaviors. This is biologically undeniable. If you look at social media or political rallies or even how stock market bubbles form, you see this massive synchronization.
We don't sit down, look at the data, and reason our way to a conclusion independently. That's not how it works.
No, of course not. We look at our tribe, we look at what the cool kids or the smart people on our side are saying, and we download that opinion. It's efficient.
It saves energy.
Exactly. And Saad points out that idea pathogens, these destructive beliefs, exploit this mechanism. Just like a biological virus exploits a weakness in your immune system to replicate, a bad idea exploits your desire to fit in or your fear of being an outcast.
So the virus rides on the back of our need for social approval. It's a social virus.
Correct. And Thornberry agrees with this 100%.
Yeah.
It matches sociology, it matches psychology. It is descriptively true. If you want to understand why a weird, irrational idea suddenly takes over a university campus or a corporate boardroom, Saad's model of contagion is perfect. It gives you the how.
Okay, so they agree on the how. Ideas spread like the flu. What else does Saad get right?
He fights for human nature constraints. This is a big one. You know the blank slate theory.
The idea that humans are born with zero built-in software and society just writes everything on us.
Yeah.
So if we raise boys to be girls, they'll be girls. If we raise humans to have no greed, they'll be socialists. That idea.
Yes. Saad effectively goes to war against that. He screams, sometimes literally in his videos, that biology is real. We are not infinitely malleable.
Right.
You cannot engineer a human being to be whatever you want. We have a nature, we have hormones, we have evolutionary drives that go back millions of years.
And I assume Thornberry, being a reality guy, likes that?
He gives it a passing grade, but for a different reason than you might think.
Okay.
Saad likes it because it's a biological fact. Thornberry likes it because it aligns with natural law. It passes the ontological test. It means there is a there. There, you aren't just a ghost in a machine that can be reprogrammed by the government. You have a structure. You have a nature.
It is validating to hear that because
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like the culture is trying to gaslight us into thinking we can just reinvent biology on a Tuesday.
It does.
And if you say, hey, maybe men and women are, on average, a little different, you get treated like a heretic.
That feeling of gaslighting. Thornberry would say that's your intuition sensing a violation of constraints. Saad validates that constraint. He says, you're not crazy. They are ignoring reality.
Okay, so we have contagion and we have constraints. What about happiness? Does Saad know how to make us happy?
He has a formula for it, more or less. He calls them flourishing metrics.
Okay.
He identifies things like competence, stable families, taking responsibility, and having agency as the keys to the good life.
That sounds pretty traditional. Get a job, get married, take care of your kids, don't be a victim. It sounds like something my grandfather would say.
It is traditional, and Saad's argument is that these aren't random cultural artifacts. They are evolutionary adaptations.
Okay.
We like family because kin selection helps our genes survive. We like competence because confident hunters got the mates. We like responsibility because it raises our status in the tribe, which leads to better outcomes.
So basically, we are programmed to like these things because they helped our ancestors not die. It all boils down to survival.
Right. It's all about survival utility. Now, Thornberry looks at this list, competence, family, responsibility, and says the list is correct.
Right.
You don't find a culture in history where being incompetent, alone, and irresponsible is considered the path to the good life.
The 7 Habits of Highly Incompetent People doesn't sound like a bestseller.
Exactly. It doesn't exist. But here is the crucial nuance, the split. Thornberry argues that these aren't just biological accidents that happen to work out for us.
Okay, what are they then?
He says these are structural features of flourishing embedded in reality itself. They are clues to the design of the universe.
Okay, I see the split forming. Saad says, we like order because it helped us survive. Thornberry says, we like order because reality is ordered and we are tuning into it.
Bingo. You're getting it. And finally, before we pivot to the crash test, we have to mention the echo chambers.
Right, confirmation bias.
Saad maps this beautifully. He explains how confirmation bias and reputation economies, where your status depends on repeating the right opinions, create these sealed bubbles.
Where you only hear what you want to hear. And anyone outside the bubble is evil or stupid.
And you demonize the outgroup. Saad shows how this distorts reality. Thornberry agrees. These are empirically supported distortions. They are real psychological phenomena.
Oh, okay.
So up to this point, Saad is batting 1,000. He sees the contagion, he defends human nature, he identifies what makes us happy, and he warns us about the bubbles. He is an excellent diagnostician of cultural sickness.
So Why are we doing this deep dive? It sounds like Saad has it figured out. He's got the diagnosis, he's got the cure. Return to reason. Why do we need an ontological upgrade? Why can't we just stop there?
Because the house he built has no foundation.
Ah.
Saad is excellent at explaining deviation from reality, how we break, how we get sick, how we get lost. But now we have to ask the hard question. Why is there a stable reality to break against?
Right. What are we deviating from?
And this is where the evolutionary model crashes head-on into a wall.
Yeah, let's crash the car. Where does it break first?
The first failure is the biggest one. It's the one that brings the whole thing down. It's called the truth-tracking problem. Or, if you want to be fancy, the epistemic collapse.
Epistemic meaning, knowledge. How we know things.
Yes. How do we know that what we think is true is actually true? Here is Saad's argument, and the argument of any strict evolutionary materialist. Our brains evolved for one purpose: survival.
Right.
Natural selection filters for traits that keep you alive long enough to reproduce.
Survival of the fittest. If I'm smart enough to avoid the tiger, I pass on my genes. My dumb cousin who tries to pet the tiger does not.
But here is the paradox. Does survival always equal truth?
I would assume so. I mean, if I think a tiger is a bunny rabbit, I get eaten. So I need to know the truth about the tiger to survive.
In that specific immediate danger instance, yes. But let's look broader. Let's do a thought experiment. Imagine two prehistoric humans walking in the tall grass. Let's call one logician Larry and the other anxious Andy.
I feel like I know both of these guys. I think I've been both of them on the same day.
We all have. So they both hear a rustle in the grass. Now, logician Larry is a scientist. He cares about objective truth. He stops. He carefully calculates the variables.
Okay.
He thinks, okay, the wind speed is 10 knots, the density of lions in this area is low, the sound had a certain timbre, the probability of that rustle being a lion is only 5%, the probability of being the wind is 95%.
That is a solid, rational calculation. Larry is using reason.
Larry's using reason. So Larry, being a good scientist, ignores the rustle and keeps walking. And 95% of the time, he's fine. But 5% of the time, Larry gets eaten.
Oops.
Over a long enough timeline, logician Larry exits the gene pool.
Poor Larry. So much for reason.
Now look at anxious Andy. Andy has a false belief, a delusion.
Well,
Andy believes that every rustle in the grass is a demon sent by the sky gods to eat his soul.
that is objectively not true. That's paranoia.
It is 100% false. It is delusional. But what does Andy do every time the grass moves?
He runs, he climbs a tree, he freaks out.
He runs up a tree every single time. He wastes some energy, sure. His friends probably think he's a bit neurotic. But he never gets eaten by the lion hiding in the grass.
So evolution selects Andy. It selects for paranoia over truth.
Evolution loves Andy. It rewards the paranoia because it keeps him alive. It rewards the false belief because the cost of being wrong is low, a little wasted energy, while the cost of Larry being wrong is catastrophic.
Whoa. Okay, I see where this is going. This is a huge problem. If our brains are purely the product of evolution,
Yes.
we aren't wired for truth. We are wired for safety. We're wired for whatever keeps the genes going, true or not.
Exactly. And this is the epistemic collapse. If Saad is right and our cognitive faculties are solely the result of survival pressures, then we have no guarantee, none, that our logic, our math, or our science actually map to reality.
They might just be our species version of Andy's demon theory, a useful fiction.
They could be. A very useful fiction that helps us build bridges and avoid lions, but a fiction nonetheless. And this undermines his whole argument.
It totally does. He's telling us to follow the science and use reason to fight the pathogens. But his own theory says reason is just a survival hack. It's no more true than any other survival strategy.
Precisely. It's like sawing off the branch you're sitting on. You can't use an evolutionary brain to claim you found objective truth because the brain wasn't built for truth. It was built for fitness. This is a problem that philosophers like Alvin Plantinga have pointed out for years, and Saad walks right into it.
That is dizzying. It makes me question everything. I mean, how do I know anything then?
It should be dizzying.
Yeah.
And that leads to failure number 2, the bad idea dilemma. This is the moral collapse.
Okay.
Because Saad talks a lot about bad ideas. He calls them pathogens. He says they're corrosive, parasitic, evil. He uses strong moral language.
He does. But in a purely evolutionary framework, what is a bad idea? What does that even mean?
I guess. An idea that gets you killed. An idea that lowers your chances of reproducing.
Exactly. It's a maladaptive strategy, an idea that lowers your reproductive success in the current environment. But here's the rub. Environments change.
Right.
Suppose a super violent, aggressive ideology comes along, Let's call it the conqueror virus. And suppose this virus makes a tribe incredibly successful at wiping out all their neighbors and taking their women and resources.
In purely evolutionary terms, that's a jackpot. Your genes are spreading like wildfire.
Exactly. If evolution is the only standard you're allowed to use, then genocide can be good if it works. If it spreads your genes, it's a successful adaptation. It's a good idea.
But Saad doesn't believe that. He knows genocide is wrong. He hates it. His whole family history is a testament to the horrors of that kind of thinking.
He does. He hates it passionately. He uses moral language. He talks about corruption, irrationality, destruction. But do you see the problem? He is smuggling in a standard of good that exists outside of biology.
He's cheating. He's bringing in outside data. He's borrowing capital from a worldview he doesn't officially hold. He wants to say, this idea is objectively evil. But his framework only allows him to say, this idea is currently maladaptive for group survival under these specific conditions. It leads to total nihilism.
Wow.
If you stick strictly to his rules, there is no good and evil. There is just won and lost, adapted and extinct.
That's a huge problem if you're trying to fight a culture war. You need to be able to stand up and say, this is wrong, period. Not just, this isn't an efficient strategy for long-term societal stability.
Correct. And that brings us to the third failure, which is a bit more subtle, but it's what helps us solve this mess. Failure number 3, the nature of evil itself. Saad views idea pathogens as these active, positive, parasitic entities.
Like monsters attacking a village. The mind virus is the monster.
But Thornberry corrects us with a very old, very powerful philosophical concept. Evil is privation.
Privation, like being deprived of something.
Yes. The argument, and this goes back to Augustine and Aquinas and the classical philosophers, is that evil is not a thing in itself. It is the absence or distortion of good. Think about rust on a car.
Okay, I'm picturing a rusty old truck.
Does rust exist on its own? Can you go to the store and buy a bucket of pure rust without any metal?
No. Rust is just what happens to the metal. It's the oxidization, the corruption of the steel.
Exactly. The rust has no independent existence. It can only exist by eating away at something that was originally good and structured, which is the steel. Or think about darkness. Can you turn on a dark switch? Can you beam darkness into a room?
No, you can only block the light. Darkness is just the absence of photons.
Thornberry argues that idea pathogens, these bad ideas, are the same. They aren't positive forces. They are distortions. They are holes. You can't have a lie without the truth to twist. You can't have a parasite without a host to feed on.
That changes the picture completely. Saad sees the parasite, but he doesn't account for the host. And by host, I don't mean the person who's infected. I mean reality itself, the good that's being corrupted.
Yes. He treats the pathogens as these mighty monsters, but Thornberry argues they are just holes in the fabric of reality. They are voids. They have no creative power of their own.
So, to summarize the crash test, Saad defends objective truth, but his theory says our brains are just survival machines that can't be trusted.
Right.
He condemns bad ideas as evil, but his theory only accounts for adaptive versus maladaptive strategies, and he treats evil as a thing to be fought, rather than a lack of a thing that needs to be filled, a lack of good.
He's defending a castle reason and truth that his own foundation cannot support. He's almost there. He rejects relativism. He rejects the blank slate. But without a deeper grounding, he's just floating. His arguments have no anchor.
So let's build the foundation. Let's get to the ontological upgrade. How do we fix this? How do we give him an anchor?
We shift the entire paradigm. This is the big move. We move from evolution leads to meaning to reality structure leads to evolution.
That sounds like a heavy shift. What does that look like in practice?
It starts with axiom 1, the most fundamental principle. Being precedes biology.
Being precedes biology.
Existence isn't a random byproduct of cells bumping into each other in some primordial soup. Cells and biology and evolution exist within the pre-existing structure of being. The universe has a grain to it, like a piece of wood. You can work with the grain or you can work against it.
Okay, so the universe isn't a blank void. It has a shape, an order.
It has a shape, and that leads to axiom 2. Truth is discovery, not invention. Math, logic, and moral order exist prior to human minds. Evolution didn't create the fact that 2 + 2 = 4.
Right. That would be true even if no humans or even life existed. It's just a feature of reality.
Exactly. Evolution just tuned our brains over millennia to be able to perceive that fact. We are antennas. We didn't invent the radio signal. We just evolved the biological equipment to catch it.
That makes me feel better. It means we aren't just making this up as we go along. We aren't just screaming into the void and hoping it makes sense.
We aren't. We are tuning in. And this brings us to Thornberry's core framework, the architecture of love, life, and light. Now remember what I said earlier. Do not think of hippies holding hands. Think of structural engineering.
Okay. Hard hats on. Let's start with light. What is light in an ontological sense?
Light is the disclosure. It is the condition that allows reality to be known. Think about a dark room filled with furniture. The furniture is there, that's being. The chairs and tables exist, but you can't navigate the room. You stumble around, you bruise your shins on the coffee table.
It's chaos. Painful chaos. You're just reacting to things you bump into.
Light is the quality of the universe that makes it intelligible.
Sure.
It includes logical coherence. It includes moral intelligibility. It's the knowability of reality. When we say someone is enlightened or we have a bright idea, we're tapping into this deep intuition. Light is the reason the universe isn't just random static. It's the signal.
So when we talk about idea pathogens obscuring the truth, they are literally blocking the light. They're creating darkness. They're preventing us from seeing the furniture in the room.
Exactly. They create epistemic darkness. You stop seeing the world as it is, and you start bumping into things, bumping into biology, bumping into economics, bumping into other people. And it hurts.
Okay, that makes sense. Light is intelligibility or knowability. What about life?
Life is the action. But this isn't just about a heartbeat and brainwaves. Thornberry defines life ontologically as being in action according to proper order. The key word here is integration.
Integration, pulling things together into a coherent whole.
Yes. Think about a living body. It integrates trillions of individual cells into a single, working, coordinated whole. It heals itself, it grows, it maintains its structure against entropy. Now think about a corpse. What happens the moment life leaves?
It decomposes, it falls apart, it disintegrates.
Disintegration. Entropy wins. So in this ontological framework, life integrates, death disintegrates. A deadly idea, a pathogen, is one that causes disintegration.
That is a powerful diagnostic tool. You can look at any idea, say a radical political ideology, and you just ask, does this integrate or does it disintegrate?
Exactly. Does it pull the family unit together or tear it apart? Does it integrate the individual psyche or does it fracture you into a dozen warring identities? Does it cohere society or fragment it into hostile, resentful tribes?
If it fragments, it's not just wrong in an abstract sense. It is an agent of death. It is anti-life.
Ontologically, yes. And finally, the third pillar, the one that ties it all together, love.
Love, the relation. This is the one where people usually check out, where it starts to sound like a greeting card.
Which is a tragedy because it's the most practical of all. In ontology, love is the proper alignment of relational being. Thornberry defines it very precisely as willing the good of the other according to reality structure.
Willing the good. That implies it's a choice, an action. It's not a feeling.
It is absolutely not just an emotion. It is the refusal to reduce persons to instruments.
Yeah.
This is a very old idea. If I use you to get what I want, sex, money, status, validation, that is not love, even if I feel warm and fuzzy about it. That is exploitation. That is disorder.
Because I am a subject, a center of consciousness, not an object for you to use.
Correct. Love is acknowledging the reality of the other person and acting in a way that promotes their life, their integration, and their alignment with light, their understanding of the truth.
So love, life, and light aren't just slogans. They are a triad. They interlock. They depend on each other.
They absolutely do. Love without light, without truth, becomes destructive sentimentality.
Right. I just want everyone to feel good, even if they are destroying themselves. That's the compassionate mother who enables her son's drug addiction because she can't bear to say no to him.
A disastrous form of love and truth or light without love becomes brutality.
I'm just stating facts. I don't care if it hurts you. That's the tyrannical father who uses truth as a weapon.
Exactly. The architecture requires all three to be stable. This is the ontological upgrade. It's not just about surviving. It's about aligning with the fundamental structure of reality.
So let's apply this back to the problem of evil and these idea pathogens. If evil is privation, the lack of these things, then a mind virus isn't a monster. It's a void. It's a hole.
It's a loss of alignment. An idea pathogen is destructive because it creates a zone of non-reality in someone's mind. It denies the light by promoting lies. It blocks life by causing disintegration. Or it violates love by encouraging exploitation.
This gives us a much deeper why. It explains why we feel a physical pit in our stomach when we see a mob tearing down a statue or screaming at someone on a university campus. Saad says, oh, that's just tribal signaling. It's monkeys flinging poo.
Which is true on the biological level. He's not wrong about the mechanism. But Thornberry adds, It is also the visible manifestation of death and darkness. It
Wow.
is disintegration in action. It is the obscuring of the human person. We feel sick because we are witnessing an ontological violation, not just a social faux pas. Our very being is recoiling from it.
And that explains the meaning crisis, too. I love this point in the notes. Meaning isn't just a neurological reward loop.
Right. A pure materialist, and Saad leans this way, often has to treat meaning like a hit of dopamine. You save your child from a burning building, your brain gives you a chemical cookie. Good boy, it keeps spreading the genes.
But it feels like so much more than that.
Because it is. Thornberry argues, meaning is the experience of aligning with the teleological orientation of the universe.
Teleological, meaning having a purpose or a direction, an end goal.
Yes, the universe isn't just stuff happening, it's going somewhere. And humans are structurally designed for certain things. For truth, for connection, for transcendence. When we align with that design, we experience meaning. It's like a key fitting perfectly into a lock. It feels right because it is right, not just because it's chemically rewarding.
It's the difference between eating candy, which gives you a sugar rush, and eating a nutritious meal. One is a chemical trick, the other is genuine alignment with your body's health.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the part everyone waits for. The so what? How does this change my actual life?
You're right.
Because most of our listeners aren't debating ontology at the dinner table.
Right.
They are trying to survive their jobs, their marriages, their own sanity.
Yeah. Why does swapping evolutionary realism for ontological realism matter when I'm stuck in traffic and someone just cut me off?
Let's look at 4 practical areas. First, psychological health and identity. This is huge.
The anxiety levels today are just off the charts. Everyone feels fragile, like they could break at any moment.
And look at the source of that. If meaning is invented, which is the modern view and arguably the Saad view, then you are the creator of your own universe. You have to wake up every morning and invent your purpose, your gender, your morality, your truth from scratch.
That is exhausting. That's terrifying. It's like being the writer, director, and lead actor of your own movie every single day. And if the movie sucks, it's all your fault.
It's a crushing weight.
Yeah.
No human is strong enough to be their own God. But if meaning is discovered, the Thornberry view, you can relax into participation. You don't have to invent the rules of the game. You just have to learn how to play it well. Your task isn't creation, it's alignment.
That is a massive relief. I don't have to be God. I just have to be me in the context of what is real.
Exactly. Mental health becomes alignment with structure, not frantic self-invention. It's the difference between building a house from scratch with no blueprints on shaky ground versus moving into a well-built house that's already standing and just learning where the light switches are.
I like the second option much better. What's the second application?
Cultural stability.
Yeah.
Civilizations collapse when they redefine truth as a function of power or preference. We see this happening everywhere. It's true because I feel it, or it's true because my political party says so.
That's the darkness creeping in, the loss of the external standard of light.
Resilience comes from making truth-seeking and moral accountability non-negotiables. Not because they are just useful social contracts that we all voted on, but because they are the bedrock of reality. You can't vote on gravity, and if you try to build a society that votes on gravity, bridges fall down.
And societies fall down.
And societies fall down. Third application, dealing with pathogens. We talked about this, but let's make it a practical tool. You're doom scrolling. You see a new hot take, a new ideology spreading like crazy. How do you know if it's a pathogen?
Use the diagnostic.
Use the diagnostic. Don't just ask, is this popular? Or is this offensive? Ask the ontological questions. Does this idea reduce coherence? Does it obscure reality? Does it fragment relationships?
Does it turn off the light? Does it bring death through disintegration? Does it violate love by instrumentalizing people?
If the answer is yes to any of those, it's a pathogen. It doesn't matter how progressive or traditional or scientific it claims to be. If it disintegrates, it is not of the real.
That cuts through so much noise. It stops being about left versus right and starts being about integrated versus disintegrated, life versus death.
Exactly. And fourth, and this one is very personal, the hierarchy of values. This is simple but hard. Prioritize stability over novelty. Prioritize truth over comfort. Prioritize responsibility over entitlement.
Why stability over novelty? Everyone loves the new thing. New tech, new fashion, new ideas. It's exciting.
Because life requires continuity. An organism that changes its fundamental DNA every 5 minutes dies. A culture that reinvents its core values every generation collapses. Stability is an expression of life. Novelty is fine, it's how we adapt. But it must serve the underlying structure, not destroy it for the thrill of the new.
Man, that is a solid checklist for living. It feels anchoring.
At the point, reality is an anchor. We've just forgotten how to use it.
So how do we put these two guys back together? Because I don't want to throw Gad Saad out. I like him. I like his fire, his willingness to call out nonsense.
And we absolutely keep him. We don't throw him out at all. We keep his consumer behavior insights. We keep his detection of institutional decay. We keep his defense of evolutionary constraints. He is the best scanner we have for the symptoms of ontological sickness.
We just limit his philosophical reach. We don't let him pour the foundation for the house. We let him inspect the wiring.
Exactly. We put a ceiling on him. He explains the biology. Thornberry explains the being. We accept that our brains have evolutionary quirks, like our tendency to form echo chambers and engage in tribalism. But we ground our mind in something higher, in the intelligible order of reality.
So the final stabilized thesis is this. Reality is morally and logically ordered.
Yes.
Human cognition participates in this order.
Right.
And evolution modulates our expression of truth, but it does not originate it.
That's it. That's the bumper sticker. A very long, very nerdy bumper sticker, but that's it.
Evolution modulates, ontology originates. I'll print the t-shirts. Seriously, it catches the essence of that almost there factor you mentioned. Saad feels almost right because he defends reality. He's fighting the postmodern chaos.
He is. He's on the right side of that battle.
But without the metaphysical anchor, without the architecture of love, life, and light, he's trying to hold back the tide with a broom. Thornberry comes along and explains how to build a seawall.
A seawall built on bedrock, not on the shifting sands of survival utility.
This has been expansive. I feel like my brain has been stretched, but in a good way, like yoga for the intellect.
That's the goal of a deep dive.
So let's wrap this up. What is the big takeaway for you, the listener, who is just trying to get through the week in one piece?
The shift is simple but profound. Stop seeing yourself primarily as a survival machine trying to hack your way through a meaningless void. Stop being logician Larry, calculating the odds, and definitely stop being anxious Andy running from imaginary demons.
Be the antenna.
Be the antenna. Start seeing yourself as a participant in intelligible order. You are part of the music, not just the radio receiving it. Your job is to tune in more clearly.
And here is a final provocative thought for you to take with you. If truth is something we tune into rather than create, then the ultimate human task isn't invention, it's removal.
Removal of the static. Removal of the privation. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Exactly. What if your main job in life isn't to build a new you from scratch, but to chip away the darkness and death, the bad ideas, the fear, the ego, the need to control that are blocking the signal of who you already are in reality?
That changes everything. It turns life from a frantic, anxious construction project into a rescue mission. Or maybe a restoration project.
A rescue mission for your own soul. I love that.
Indeed. It's about recovering what's already there.
Listen, we want to challenge you. Look at your own stack of beliefs this week. The things you hold to be true. Are they just survival strategies? Are they just things you believe to fit in with your tribe? Or are they aligned with the architecture of love, life, and light?
It's a hard question, but it's the only one that leads to real, durable flourishing.
A huge thank you to the work of Jamie Thornberry for the deep ontological framework, and to Gad Saad for the brilliant cultural analysis that got us started on this path. And thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Here's the line.